this is Tina from Shabbydabbydoodah. Welcome back to my channel. We're here for another one of our mass making sessions. We are up to week number 262. So what are we making today? Let me just check what I have called them here. So I have called them envelope pocket booklets. Envelope pocket booklets. So what you're going to need if you would like to make some of these, you are going to need some envelopes. Now I've got a variety of sizes here. I've got some kind of like standard letter kind of size envelopes. Maybe they are sort of DL size envelopes where you are. We've got some 5x7 envelopes. These would be like, you know, typically I got mine from like a card making pack. And then I've also got some A5 envelopes. These actually might be slightly larger even than A5. So you can use any envelopes that you like. The only thing that I would say is you want to have a decent flap on there. It can be a straight flap. Definitely that will work, but you're just going to end up with quite a small pocket because this flap is going to be the pocket, if that makes sense. So, you know, it's up to you how you kind of make them, whether you want to use kind of triangular flaps or not, but just be aware that if you're using a straight flap, it's just going to make quite a tiny pocket, but you know, it will still work. So envelopes, you are going to need some paper to cover your envelopes. So again, I'm using printables, and I say this all the time, but I'm using printables because that's what I predominantly have these days. You don't have to use printables. You can use whatever you like, you know, kind of with a caveat saying nothing too thick and bulky. So if you're using a scrapbook paper, you may choose to use a slightly thinner scrapbooking paper. So these are all 120 GSM. That's the kind of thickness that I would say no thicker than. Oh, bye, gorgeous. Are you off? Okay, love you, darling. My daughter's on an inset day. She's had her half term. She's now on an inset day from school, which is like a sort of teacher training type day. So she's just now going over to the park. So yeah, she was just saying goodbye. So yes, some paper to decorate. You are going to want some sort of paper to put on the insides as your journaling space. Now I've got here, this is some vintage documents. It's not particularly discoloured or anything, so I might ink it up. But, you know, you could use coffee dyed paper, you could use fly sheet from books, you know, anything that you like. You could even use, if you've got some book page, like, oh, I'll see if I've got any, you know, with space like that, you could maybe even use kind of that type of space, depending on, you know, what size your envelopes are and things. Bye, gorgeous. You're going to need some scissors. You're going to need a glue spreader. I like to use kind of an old gift card, that type of thing. I like to also have either a dried wipe or some tissue to kind of mop the glue out. You're going to need some glue. I always like to use the Anita's Tacky Glue, which is a PVA based glue when I'm doing paper to paper. And then optional extras would be, you know, you might want to have your distress ink with a blendy tool, that kind of thing. I think that's all that we're going to need. If you prefer to use a paper trimmer than your scissors, obviously, then, you know, you can do that. So I will get along making one to kind of demonstrate how these come along. So, oops. Okay, so move the envelopes out of the way. Right, let's do a 5x7 because that's what I've got most envelopes of. So I'm going to pull in some paper now. I've tried to be a bit organised today, and I've already separated out my papers into twos as to what I'm going to kind of mix and match them with. So this is from my patisserie collection. I think it's the pinks and greens, and this is from the patisserie collection as well. I think as well from the pinks and greens. So decide which one you want in the background. So basically this is going to be folded round as a booklet like this. This is going to be your outside. On the inside is where you're going to have your plain paper for journaling. So just decide, do you want your patterned paper as the pocket and then the, you know, the plain paper inside, or the other way round? I'm going to do it like that. So I'm just going to put that in there. Now, I don't even need to put it in there actually. What am I doing? So I'm going to put that there. I just put it up to where I've got like a little millimetre edge or so. And I just then fold mine over. Now again, this is my kind of way of cutting and you know, getting my paper to size. Obviously if you prefer to measure and use a paper trimmer and all of that kind of malarkey, then, you know, that's absolutely fine. I personally can't get on with doing things like that, so I like to just use my folding method. So that's kind of the right size. And then I'm going to just take it to here, like that. Now, when I'm just going to mention this, it is up to you if you want to cut the top of your envelope and have like another couple of pockets there. If you do, just be mindful of where you glue this down, because you don't want to fill in this space with glue because you're going to shrink your pockets. It depends whether you want to do that. You might not want to do that, you know, but if you would like to do that, that's kind of an option. The only other thing that I would say is you're then going to kind of maybe have to staple it in the middle to just stop it from opening out like a full envelope, if that makes sense. So I'm going to just make mine without the top opening pockets, but that was just a sort of optional thing to mention. Sorry, before I cut that down, I'm just going to take this down now to my flap kind of size. So take that there. Oh no, that's killing me because it's been double side printed, and yeah, I've talked about this before. I don't very often double side, and when I do, you know, when they're coordinating, you know, lovely, I don't then want to use them. I want to just hoard them. So yeah, I'm having hoarding vibes here. I'd rather just be hoarding this than cutting it up, but never mind. Right, okay. So again, use the method that suits you best for sort of doing, you know, getting your paper to size. For me personally, I quite like doing this type of thing and then just like folding it round, and then I'll sort of trim it down afterwards. This may look a little bit of a, what's that word? You know, like a pig-eared, is that the word? Pig-eared, or I don't know. I'm not sure what that word is. If anybody knows what saying I'm after, please share with me, because I have no idea. But this is kind of how I find it easiest. So that's not going to tear very easily because it's on the angle, so I might end up tearing the paper. So I'm just going to go in like that, and then just down this side like that. Just going to kind of cut that round, and then the top, oops, cut that down like that. Then, you know, you can just trim this round sort of thing. I will keep these two bits because even though they're tiny, I could use them for collage or clusters or anything. So heaven forbid that I would get rid of those. So this is going to go on here. You know, can adjust if you need some adjusting. I kind of need to adjust this piece. So just trim that down. Oh, excuse me. So I'm going to put that in there. Now, the reason why I stopped when I was about to glue the underneath piece down was because in an ideal world, I prefer to glue top pieces down first, so that when I spread my glue out, it's not going to go all over the underneath paper. So that's why I sort of took it out and adjusted it to do this bit of sticking first. So, okie dokie. Just pop that down. Now, it doesn't matter if my glue goes all over this piece because it's going to be covered up. So, like that. Okay. Squish your glue down. Lovely. And then I like to mop it out with my tissue or my dried wipe. Then open it out, and we're then going to put our inner piece down like that. Okay. So now, if you're going to be cutting the tops open of the envelope like we just talked about, I personally would recommend just gluing like that around the whole edge, and then glue the inside, you know, this piece, avoiding this area. And that way you're going to ensure that you kind of manage to get in and have the pocket usable. I'm not going to be using this like a top loading pocket, so therefore I can glue mine down all over everywhere. So I'm just going to pop that down there like that. Okay, again, just get my glue spreader, spread the glue out like that. Okay, right, so looking good. Pop it back like this, and then what you want to do is you want to fold it in half. So take your envelope, and this is why I'm saying, you know, preferably if you're using like scrapbooking paper or anything, or any paper, you don't want to have it too thick, because you're going to have like the bulk of the envelope and the paper and the glue, you know, it's all going to get quite bulky, and then, you know, not make a nice neat fold. It's not going to look very, very good when it's folded down. So this is as thick as I would like to go personally. There we go. And then what you're going to do is put your paper for journaling space in there. But what I first of all like to do is just pop some glue here to glue my, oops, I don't know what's going on with my glue today, to pop my foldy spine down, so as to make sure that it's glued down like, you know, actual pockets rather than just an opening. Now again, depending on what your envelope is like, you may want to put a spot of glue on the edges or not. Mine are not particularly big, so I don't really think they need a dab of glue there. But if you did want to, you could just obviously pop it in there like that. Can you just see? Just put a bit of glue in there. I suppose I'd best do the other side now so as it matches. So, and a bit of glue in there. Oops. Oh, what's going on with my glue? No, please, please, no glue issues today. Oops. Right, so bit of glue in there. Like that. I mean, like I say, it really depends kind of how your envelope flaps are. You may, you know, you may not find that's a necessary thing to do. Then take your plain paper and you want to just make your couple of journaling type spaces like that. Okay. Again, I'm going to just fold mine down here like that. I can just tear this piece off straight away like that, and then I'm just going to go in and just fold this over. Actually, I'm going to do it at the top and the bottom because I've not made a very good job of folding this, or who knows, maybe it wasn't very even in the first place because I had cut it down already for something else like that. Again, I'm just going to now quickly cut along those fold lines. One, and then the other one. Like that. Okay. And we can just open this out. Tear that down. There we go. And you just glue those in there as your journaling space areas, like that. So we just pop those down. Okay. Like that. So they're a little bit time consuming to make, I have to be honest. But they are very nice. So, you know, I'd recommend them. I think they're worth the, you know, worth the effort and worth the time, because they are actually a very nice pocket. I'm so sorry if you can hear a lot of dogs. I'll tell you about that in a moment when we relax into this. But yes, we have a house full of dogs at the moment. So I may have already said this, to be honest, in a different video. But if I haven't, then I'll just apologise now for all the noise. Hello, hello, gorgeous. Coming to see me. So, yeah, like this. Okay. Put that one down on that edge. There you go. So that's your journaling spaces inside the envelopes. honest, you could also add extra pages in here, more like a sort of booklet, just staple them in the center, you know, like that, or you could stitch them in, up to you. Could even you know, stitch them in like a signature of a journal, like hand stitch rather than sewing machine stitch. But aren't they just such a cute pocket? So you've got a pocket here and a pocket here. Obviously I wouldn't glue this into a journal. I would now use this as a you know, tuck in type piece or paper clipped in or something. Just a quick note on that, if you wanted to glue this in, I'm just going to show you as if this were a page. What I would do, I'd forego this area. I wouldn't bother gluing these pieces in, and I would glue it over the page like that. And I would glue it like 1, 2, 3, 4 onto the side of the page. And then what you'd have is like a pocket here and a pocket here. And then on the other side of the page, you'd have a pocket here and a pocket here. So, you know, that's just kind of an option, really. If you wanted to have it as a glued in piece, that's, I think, how I would kind of, you know, or how I have used them in the past even. So yeah, definitely that's kind of how I would opt to use them. So I will try and kind of like run you through the tutorial again on the first one that we make, and then we will assembly line it. Actually, yeah, I will just do another full tutorial because they're a little bit fiddly. So again, taking a 5x7 envelope. So let's try and kind of like speed up a little bit here, otherwise I'm not going to have made very many of these at all. So this is my documents collection paper. I'm going to take this down here this way up. So I'm going to just fold it to the size of the envelope. Again, just tear that down. Oops, I've not made a good job of this at all. Oh dear. Okay, so take that over like that, and then just take it to the size of the envelope. Okay, that's going to go in there, and then what you want to do is you want to cut your piece for the flap. So that's my Documents 1 collection, and this is my Clocks collection papers. So again, pick the sort of area that you want to have. I quite like that sort of middly section, I think, for this flap, because you're not actually going to see that much of the paper just on this small flap. So, you know, I try and then pick the part that I think is going to look really cool on the flap. So yeah, I'm going to pick this central section, I think. So up like that. Okie dokie. Oh dear. Not very good folding there, is there? So like that. Take that down. And then here again. Well, could take it down here first. Just so we've got less paper then to be worrying about. So across there. Pop it in here and then fold it alongside of the flaps like that. One, and the other one like that. Okie dokie. Again, I'm going to cut these down. Like that. And then this one, just, oops. Like that. Okay. Pop this here. And then I'm just going to go round here like that. Okay, so that's my pieces that I'm going to cover with. And then, so remember, we glued this section first so that any glue spreading, it wasn't then going onto the underneath paper. So pop the glue there. Okie doke. So one piece there. like that. Okay. Like that. And then here, going to pop this in. I don't really mind that that's a bit tatty across the top. I mean, obviously, I'm not saying that everybody likes that, but it doesn't really bother me, to be honest. So I'm going to leave it like that. So, and again, remember what we said about if you wanted to have this as the top loading pocket, I would recommend glue around the edge of this piece of paper and then all in the center of this envelope, not including this triangle here. Obviously, I don't need to worry because I'm not making mine into the top loading pockets. So I can just now glue my entire area, including here, like that. Pop that down like that. Like that. Okay, spread my glue out. 1, 2. Okie dokie. Lots of glue here spreading out. And then like that. Glue up. Okie dokie. Like that. Remember then we folded it in half here. So obviously my glue's pretty soggy at the minute, so oops, it's making it a little bit tricky to get neat folds, but like that. Squish that down like that. Okay, like that. And then do you remember we put the inside pieces in here, and we also glued down this flap there as the pockets. Okay, so I won't bother doing the journaling spaces in here because obviously it's pretty self-explanatory, but that's basically all that you're actually doing with these. So they're quite straightforward. They're just a little bit time consuming. So, you know, hopefully they're looking, you know, straightforward and simple kind of to make. So we're just going to assembly line a bunch of those. So like I say, I have tried to be a bit more organized and put my papers out, so I've kind of got like somewhere to go. So what I probably will do is I will start by tearing all of my papers down and then work my way from there. And yeah, we'll just have a nice you know, 45 minutes or so and just relax now. So yeah. So if you watch my channel, you'll know that I film these on a Monday to go out for you guys on the Tuesday. Obviously, there wasn't one last week because it was bank holiday here in the UK. And I think I had said that in the video the previous week. So, but I did, of course, put up a different video, you know, an alternative video on the Tuesday. So, yeah, what have I been up to? Well, let me explain the dog situation first. So just in case I haven't, because I know that I have filmed other films or other videos where I've been talking about them, but they may not have gone up. So they are my sister Natalie's dogs. She has gone on holiday, and yes, I am looking after them for her. So wow, they are a lot. So she's got 2 dogs. They are Bo's mum and dad, which I have said before. So yeah, they're Bo's mum and dad. But yeah, 3 dogs, it's a lot. So, I mean, I know that obviously some of you sometimes comment, and I know that some of you do have 3 dogs. Wow, that's a lot of work. So yeah, things like, you know, just now when the doorbell went, oh my goodness, or it might not have even been the doorbell. It might have just been somebody going out the door. They just then are like going mad. And honestly, my gosh, it's quite shocking how then you're suddenly aware of just how many interruptions that you have all day long. You know, the doorbell going, the postman delivering something, you know, somebody else coming to do something, you know, my daughter coming in or going out. I mean, obviously it's half term, and like I say, she's on an inset day. My son is also home from work, so he's kind of obviously, you know, about. So yeah, it's all those kind of things that actually, you know, then the dogs are going crazy, absolutely crazy. That was my Yellow Roses paper, by the way, and this was my Dark Damask set 2, or the Rich Damask set 2. This one is the Avery collection papers, and I'm going to pair it with, again, the Dark Damask set 2, Rich Damask set 2. I'm wondering whether I might have this the other way around, actually, just for a bit of a sort of change of scene. Oh no, I'm not going to. No, that was just way too adventurous, really. So yeah, I'm not going to do that. Yeah, it's quite shocking how many kind of like ins and outs there are. So like last week on Thursday, in the space of like say 4 hours, the doorbell rang 5 times. So I think there was a delivery or a couple of deliveries. There was the postman, my daughter's friend, and then my friend came around to fix my puncher. Yeah, I had another puncher, would you believe? So yeah, 5 times. And each one of those 5 times, of course, all 3 dogs are going like loonies, like at the door. And it just makes you feel quite stressed. You're just like, oh my goodness, there's a lot of interruptions, you know. And obviously I am trying to work. So it's a bit unfortunate, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, I can't lie. I will be pleased when she's back from holiday. So yeah, I wish I could have said, oh, it had been like lovely having them. Well, not really, to be honest. It's been hard work. So yeah. I mean, it's easier than it was. I mean, definitely the first day or two, I thought, oh my goodness, this is awful. I'm not even going to get through the 10 days. Well, it's about 12 days. So I think they went on the bank holiday Monday. So we've had them since the bank holiday Monday till Saturday this week. So yeah, 12 days. So actually, it might be Sunday when they actually get back. I think they fly overnight. So yeah, we won't be rid of them until Sunday. So yeah, quite hard work, to be honest. And honestly, any of you guys who've got like two, 3, well, 2 probably is okay. But yeah, 3 dogs, wow. I don't know how you do it. This again, the yellow roses, and this is the pale damask, I think it is, set 2. Yeah, had to think then, set 2. Yeah, so it's a lot. I don't know how you're doing it. But I guess, you know, once they're kind of like in your routine and all of that, then they're probably okay. But it's just that sort of chaos type thing. And to be honest, they're not brilliantly house trained. So Bo is, you know, very good since she's been here. She's pretty good. But these 2, they're not great. So I feel like we're constantly having to watch them like hawks, you know. And so now my daughter's gone to the park, and before, you know, I've said to her, if I'm filming, make sure you keep them in your room. So of course she's not here now. She's gone to the park, and my son, not sure where he is, but they're not in his room with him. So I can hear them sniffing about outside my room, and I'm just hyper aware that, you know, they're not shut in a room anywhere with somebody watching them to see whether they're about to go to the toilet. So yeah, it's a little bit stressy, to be honest. But, you know, hey, it's not much longer now, so it's okay. I don't think Bo really overly likes them being here. She's okay. But bearing in mind, so it's Slinky and Jess are their names, and they are Bo's parents. So they're Bo's mum and dad. And funnily enough, my son and I, we were saying, I wonder if they know, you know. And I'm sure Jess, the mum, I'm sure she knows that Bo is her pup. Because she kind of feels, or she seems like she's very pleased to see her. Her tail's wagging like mad. And she kind of tries to almost like be licking her and sniffing her and things like that. So I'm pretty sure that she knows that it's her pup. I don't know whether Bo knows that Jess is her mum or not, or whether she just remembers that they're the 2 dogs that she used to live with. You know, maybe that's more kind of what she remembers. I don't know. But definitely she's got that look on her face that says like, oh my goodness, how much longer are they staying, mum? How much longer? Right, I'm going to do a big one just because we haven't done a big one. So yeah, let's do a big one. So this is the Roses collection paper, and this is the Clocks collection. And I thought these would be quite nice for a different sort of look. Now, yeah, I'm going to have the clocks in the background, I think, because I think that would look really lovely. Yeah, so it's quite funny because Jess obviously is pleased to see Bo. Bo not so much. They're okay, but like, so at night Bo sleeps in with me, so the other two have been sleeping in with my daughter. And it's got to be said, in the morning that first day, I'm sure that Bo kind of must have woken up and thought, well, hopefully that was just a bad dream, hopefully they're not still here. And then of course when I get up, I take Bo downstairs to let her out. So I've then straight away gone in my daughter's room and got the other two to let them out as well. And Bo is kind of like, yeah, not very impressed. But the funny thing is, so they go out to the garden then, and Jess then, her tail's all wagging, and she goes up to Bo and she kind of like, you know, sniffs around her. Bo, her tail is not wagging, and she is not looking, she's not looking impressed at all. She kind of almost just doesn't really acknowledge Jess at all. But I have to say, last night was the cutest thing. So we were watching a movie. We had like a little, you know, family movie night. And so there was, you know, my son, my daughter and myself, and we were watching a movie. And Bo was like laying beside my, you know, my knees kind of thing, when, you know, I was sat with my feet curled up kind of thing on the sofa, and she was sat by my knees, and the other two were sat in between like my son and my daughter. So like the three of us were lined up. And then my daughter just said, oh, look. And honestly, Jess and Slinky were like a little old married couple. He was kind of lolloping a little bit on Jess, and she was just licking his head like for ages. So whether or not she was cleaning him or kissing him, I'm not really sure. My daughter said, oh, she's kissing him. I said, oh, yeah. I said, oh, she might be cleaning him. I'm not sure. But the funniest thing was, he's not a very smiley dog. And I mean, it sounds really weird, doesn't it? I mean, before I had a dog, I probably would have thought, what, dog's smiling? But they do smile, don't they? And he's not a particularly smiley dog. I'm just going to do one of the other shape ones, just so that we've got, you know, a little bit of a different look somewhere. So this is my Avery collection, and this is the Totally Dotty collection. So I thought these would look quite pretty together. Yeah, he's not a very smiley dog. And do you know what? He was literally laying there smiling and kind of dozing off. And it just looked so cute. And I thought, oh, bless. It's like, you know, they're an old married couple. And then he was kind of putting his head up so she could lick sort of under his neck a little bit and things. It was so cute. He was enjoying it so much. And then she finally stopped. So that went on for quite a while. And then she finally stopped that. And he started licking her, bless him. So he was then licking, you know, like her cheek. And, oh, it was so cute. And a couple of times they kind of almost like kissed each other. And I just thought, oh, that's so cute. Yeah, it was so gorgeous to see. It kind of like melted my heart a little bit. So, well, a lot. Melted my heart a lot. So, yeah, it was really, really, really cute. And then I just thought, oh, all that hard work of having the 3 dogs here, it's all out the window because, oh, they're so cute when they're like that. Yeah, so that was very, very cute. So that's the saga with the dogs, or that's why the dogs are here. So what have we been up to? Well, what have we been up to? Yesterday we went out, so we went shopping because everyone needed like some new things. I just needed some new reading glasses and sunglasses and socks and things. So I like to just go to that cheap shop Primark and stock up on, like, you know, lots of pairs of reading glasses so I can have them a bit scattered around the house, you know, socks and things like that. So my son was kind enough, he drove us over, it's about a 45-minute drive to where we went. And yeah, my daughter obviously needed some stuff for the summer, he needed some stuff. So we went over there, and we had such a nice day. We never really go shopping anymore. We used to go shopping all the time. I mean, I have to be honest, I don't even really like it anymore to, you know, to go around the shops. It's busy, it's hot, it's not very nice, is it? But it wasn't too bad yesterday. But that was probably the first time I'd really been around the shops, like since January, you know, when we went away with my sister and my mum and dad that weekend. So yeah, I hadn't really been around the shop since then, but it was annoying because I came back, I hadn't got my reading glasses. They didn't really have any in, oh, what do you call that thing? You know, like the strength. They didn't have any in the strength that I would have. I mean, not that I've really had my eyes tested, but I just buy like the lowest strength really. Although that being said, I think I have bought the 1.5. I think I normally get like the 1.25, but I think I have bought the 1.5 before. Yeah, they didn't have any of those. The only strengths they had were like 3s and things like that, which I mean, presumably is pretty strong. So obviously I didn't want to buy those and make my eyesight deteriorate even further. I know people say that it doesn't, but I don't want to risk it. So yeah, I came away, hadn't got my glasses or anything. I did get my socks and I did get some sunglasses. So again, you know, the sunglasses, they're really cheap. And I just like to buy like 3 or 4 pairs so that I can have like a pair in the car and a pair, you know, in my handbag, a pair like, I don't know, like in the kitchen or something. I know that sounds weird, in the kitchen, but you know, like so that if I go out to the garden or anything, I could just grab them from the kitchen, you know, just to have them laying about really. So yeah, that was kind of what we did yesterday. So we had a really nice time. And interestingly, where there was obviously 3 dogs here, we were gone for quite a while, you know, a few hours. And it was so strange because I said to my son, well, the only good thing that is having 3 dogs is I didn't feel really terrible for like leaving Bo. I mean, I wouldn't generally do that and go shopping and leave Bo because I would feel really bad for her being on her own. But because there was 3 of them, it was kind of like, oh, they're all together, they're fine, you know, because they then have company, don't they? So I can see from that perspective why actually having 3 dogs would be beneficial. I've got to say, I think the benefits were probably few and far between, but yeah, that definitely, you know, was a benefit, because definitely 100%, you know, I didn't feel, oh my goodness, we must rush back, poor Bo, she's on her own. And when we got back, they'd all been good, and you know, we'd just shut them in the kitchen, so you know, they had food and water out, so they were okay. But yeah, I wouldn't have left Bo in because we were gone for probably about 4.5 hours. But because there was 3 of them, you know, I thought, oh, they're okay, which of course they were. So yeah, that was a bit of a bonus. But yeah, so that's what we did on Sunday. And on Saturday I had been down to see like some old school friends. So a friend of mine, he came down like for the weekend, so he called in for a coffee, and then we all kind of met later, and just like in their, you know, local pub, which is about 10 miles I suppose from where I live. And you know, most of them still live quite near where we went to school. So yeah, just kind of drove down there. Yeah, I must have got there at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I suppose, and it was quite a nice day. So we sat outside, and then it was lovely because my kind of like oldest friend, who I properly stay in contact, I picked her up, and you know, we went down there. She has now got together with one of the other guys who we went to school with, so that was kind of quite cute, you know, that they are together now. So yeah, that was sweet. And yeah, we kind of went down, and he was already there with some of the other lads and things, and then some other girls, and I think maybe a couple of guys actually. They kind of just came along for a couple of hours, so it was just really, really, really nice. And everyone is lovely, you know, who we all went to school with. We had a really nice year group, and you know, we all said that and said what a nice year group we had. There wasn't really any nastiness or anything, you know, which sometimes there is, isn't there? Yeah, there was no nastiness really when we were at school or anything. It was a pretty good year group, so we were very lucky. And yeah, had just a really nice time. And then had a pizza like in the pub while we were there, so had sort of, you know, just pizza for dinner, so that was quite nice. And I got back at about 11:30, which for me, that's very, very late. So yesterday when I woke up, oh, I felt dreadful. Now, I don't even drink. So, you know, I just purely felt dreadful from, you know, having a late night. Everyone else had really drunk a lot. I mean, a couple of them really drank a lot. And I just thought, wow, they must have felt shocking yesterday. Yeah, my friend, she messaged yesterday and she said she was feeling fragile. And I said, I'm not surprised. My gosh, you really drank a lot. And she's titchy. She's like 5 foot, you know, 5 foot nothing. And yeah, I don't know how she consumes so much alcohol because, I mean, I don't know how much she drank, but pretty sure she had like a whole bottle of Prosecco. Prosecco, is that how you say that? Yeah, a whole bottle of that and some other drinks as well. I think she'd maybe had like a, I don't know whether it was a lager or a shandy, something like that when we first arrived. So she'd had loads to drink. And I just thought, wow, where does she put it on her tiny little body? Because, you know, I definitely have never been able to drink kind of in that sort of volume. I'd have been on the floor, absolutely drunk as anything. But yeah, she obviously can handle her drink much better than I can. So, yeah, that was lovely. What have I been watching? Well, because the dogs have been here, we haven't been to the cinema or anything, which was a shame because there was a couple of things out last week. But what have we been watching on TV? Well, I say we, me. What have I been watching on TV? I have been watching... Oh, what have I watched? What have I watched? I've watched several things, which have turned out to be pretty short things. So I watched something called Sirens, which was, you know, these are all just things from the top 10 list on Netflix. I've just kind of like, can't be bothered to go trawling through looking for things. I'm just like, oh, yep, that will do. So watched Sirens, watched the whole of that. I think there was only like very few episodes, maybe, I don't know, maybe 6, something like that. Again, that was with Kevin Costner and, oh my goodness, who was the woman in it? I kept saying, or kept going to say Nicole Kidman. It wasn't Nicole Kidman. It was Julianne Moore, is it? She was in Silence of the Lambs, you know, after Jodie Foster. Not Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal. Yeah, she played Candice. Is it Candice? Starling, Candice. Is that her name, Candice Starling? I don't know. That sounds wrong now I've said that. Candice. I'm not sure. Let me know if you are a Silence of the Lambs fan. Is that what her name was? Candice Starling? It was definitely Starling. I'm not sure what her first name was. Anyway, she played her in Hannibal. And she's a brilliant actress, isn't she? Absolutely brilliant. So it was her and, yeah, Kevin Bacon, who obviously we talked about him a couple of weeks ago in that thing, The Bondsman, how he's very watchable. Oh, no. Do you see what I'm saying about the whole knocking on the door thing? It's a bit of a disaster, isn't it? Oh, dear. I'm hoping someone else is going to get it so that I don't have to. I'm going to have to. No one else is going. Hold on. Oh, sorry about that. So I was then actually gone for ages because I then had to let the dogs out. Then one of them had weed on the carpet. I'm pretty sure that was Slinky. And then, so obviously had to clear that up. And then the doorbell rang again. So yeah, ended up being gone for ages. So, right. Okay. Let's put this in here. I'm not making a good job of this, so let's try and smooth that out a bit. Okay. Well, I don't know what's going on there, but yeah, not made a good job. Not made a good job of that one, but it's okay. It's okay. Right. Squish that down. Like that. Okay, let's quickly glue a couple more together. I don't know how long I've been filming for. Oops, I should have looked when I stopped the camera just now. I was trying to film in one go and not break, and that was why I was reluctant to stop and go and answer the door. because my phone keeps on running out of storage. I'm not sure what's going on with it. And of course, if you then have to edit the video and resave it, it then doesn't have enough storage to save it. So it becomes really quite problematic. So I was really trying my best not to stop, you know, to film in one go. Which, you know, is kind of like 50-50. Sometimes I can film in one go, sometimes I can't. But I mean, obviously I can't if there's then people knocking on the door or anything. So, yeah. I mean, to be honest, I guessed it was the postman, you know, or some sort of delivery. So, you know, kind of, had I been just here without the dogs, I could have just left it. But because all three of them were going absolutely berserk, I couldn't really just leave it. So I had to obviously then go and sort of answer the door. Which was, yeah, annoying. But never mind. Okay. Yeah, funnily enough, my phone had been at this point a couple of weeks ago, and then I kept looking at it. I thought, well, this can't be right, because I've practically got no videos now left on there. You know, sometimes I maybe have filmed just half a video. I need to come back and refilm some of it and things like that, you know, or maybe I just haven't edited them yet. So, you know, I might have a bit of a backlog. But, you know, sometimes I'm kind of pretty much all up to date. And so there aren't like any backlogged videos or anything. And yet it was still saying it was running out of space. And I thought, well, that can't be, you know, can't be quite right. Anyway, when I then had a look, I don't know how I stumbled across it. Oh, I must have gone into like the iPhone storage settings. And it said, you know, apps. And when I looked, YouTube app was taking up tons of space. You know, way more than it should have been taken up. So I assume it must have like cookies and all of that kind of stuff. That if you don't then delete the app and then reinstall it, you're going to then be stuck with this huge size. I mean, it literally, like, wow, freed up loads of storage on my phone. That being said, here we are only a couple of weeks later. It seems to be full again. So maybe I'll have to have a look and see if there's another app that maybe just needs, you know, offloading. Is that what they call it? I mean, obviously, YouTube, it didn't need offloading because I obviously then had to just reinstall it. But I don't know. Maybe the definition of offloading is not really what I think it is. But anyway, it was, oh, now look. Got glue stuck all over there. Just wipe that off. Again, I mean, it's not the end of the world because I can always cover that up with something. But yeah. Right, so let's do this one because I'm thinking this would look gorgeous. So kind of excited to do this one. What were we saying? Oh yes, was talking about TV. So Sirens, yeah, not great. It felt like a half story. You know, it was finally kind of getting going, and then it ended. And I was like, wow, it feels like I've literally missed half the series. You know, it kind of didn't really go anywhere, which was a shame because I felt like it did have potential to go somewhere. But yeah, so let me know. Have you watched Sirens? What did you think? Did you think like me, well, that's not really, you know, it's not gone anywhere? Or did you think it was okay? Yeah, I didn't think it was great. Then I watched something about Fred and Rose West. So they were like serial killers who were, I think they buried all the bodies in the garden. And I think it was like in the 90s they were sort of found. Bo, get off there, darling. Sorry, Bo's now sat on something. Hang on 2 seconds. Yeah, I think it was the 90s. I was kind of like late teens, I think, when it was, well, mid to late teens, if it was 1990, but it might have been a bit later than that. But yeah, and they buried all the bodies in their garden. You know, awful, horrendous. I mean, including like one of them was their daughter, and yeah, terrible couple. And I think he killed himself. Again, I mean, I only watched this like last week, but already I can't really remember the details. I think he killed himself shortly after going into prison. I think she is probably still alive. I'd have to Google that. I might be wrong. But I don't feel like I've heard she's died. But hey, I mean, like I said, I can't remember anything from last week. So who knows whether she has or not. But yeah, horrible. And then, well, there seem to be a few things on them at the moment. I started watching another thing called Appropriate Adult, which was to do with like the person who Fred West apparently had like an appropriate adult, which is like someone who's just there to help them understand what's going on, I think, like as if he didn't understand, which he did seem to understand. Anyway, okay. Yeah, I think I have actually seen that one before, to be honest, so I didn't end up watching most of it. You know, I watched a bit and I thought, I think I've seen this before, so I watched like an episode and that was that. And then I watched something called the Tylenol. It's a brand of you know, medicine. Tylenol, is that how you pronounce that? I'm not sure now. Again, obviously I watched it only last week. Why did I not pay more attention to how they were pronouncing it? I have no idea. I've just never said it out loud, and so now I've come to say it. It's like an unfamiliar word for me, and it's like, I'm pronouncing that quite right. I'm not sure. But anyway, it's a pharmaceutical brand, which, wow, I mean, seems like it's like an unsolved, like not mystery, but, you know, an unsolved case where people were dying from cyanide being found, traces of cyanide being found in the Tylenol or whatever the tablet brand is, in certain medicines that they had. And again, I think this happened in the 70s-ish, but it was horrendous. And yeah, I mean, there were question marks really over who was responsible, which it seems like there's still question marks, is what the documentary alluded to, I felt. But yeah, anyway, shocking. And I'd never heard of that, because that must have been in America, obviously, if it was in the 70s. I mean, I was born in the 70s, so, you know, not something I guess I would have heard of, but wow, absolutely shocking. And then they were convinced it was this chap who he's died now. But yeah, I don't know whether it was him or not, really. It seemed unconclusive, really, whether it was him or not. I don't know. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Like, have you watched that? Or maybe you remember that from, you know, from when it was happening. It seemed pretty shocking and, you know, pretty scary. So yeah, who knows? Maybe you're someone who can actually remember that happening. But I mean, there was one woman who it was just horrendous. I mean, she was like, I think she was an air hostess, and literally she just didn't go in for her shifts, like a couple of shifts. And then they kind of said, oh, well, you know, let's go and check her out. And yeah, she passed away, you know. And there was another one horrendous. It was the whole family. It was, I think, can't remember now whether that was an uncle and... I really must pay more attention when I'm watching things. Might have been the uncle and the mum and the daughter or something like that. But, you know, one of these was a child had passed away. And, wow. Now I'm thinking, oh, is that right? Or had the child just... Maybe the child hadn't passed away. Oh, I'm not sure. Please correct me if I'm wrong, which I probably am. Because, yeah, I probably wasn't really paying full attention. But, well, I clearly wasn't. Yeah, anyway, just awful. So maybe you can remember it from when it was happening, but seemed very scary. It reminded me of that, what was the film with Mark Ruffalo? That's it. It was Teflon. It's about the Teflon, which, I mean, this one, you know, in my defence, it was quite a long time ago that I saw it, but did the Teflon have some sort of cancer, links to cancer causing stuff? Oh my goodness, my glue, hang on. Yeah, Mark Ruffalo. I mean, in my defence this time, it was quite a long time ago that I watched this, but was there some sort of like cancer causing something? Oh, sorry, I'm just... that other bit out of my glue. I can't actually remember the details, but that was also pretty, you know, horrendous what had been discovered. And yeah, shocking. So when you hear these things, it's kind of like really scary, isn't it? But yeah. And again, I mean, I'd never heard of that. I mean, I'd heard of Teflon. I mean, Is Teflon still a thing now? I know the brand is still a thing, but is Teflon the, I suppose it's like a material, isn't it? But is, or not a material, but a, like a surface, isn't it? But yeah, is that still a thing? You know, like you had your Teflon saucepans, didn't you? That were like that really brilliant non-stick kind of saucepans. And I can remember my mum, you know, having some, and obviously they were like really, yeah, like I guess the latest thing out, and you know, very considered like the best thing that you could have, you know, the Teflon saucepans. I'm just going to get another clean tissue out. Hold on. Yeah, so I can sort of remember that. But the Tylenol, if you pronounce it that way, I don't remember that. Yeah, which makes me think that, yeah, it probably was in the 70s. Right, so this one obviously is that much bigger one. I actually really like this in the big size, funnily enough. I thought it was going to look a bit too giant, but how lovely is that? I actually think I prefer that in the big size now. So, and again, you could still use that on a page. You know, if I just pull in, you could still have that on a page, even though it's much bigger. You could still use that. So, yeah, loving that. Right, let's do one now in the long size. Just so as I've done one, you know, in all the sizes now. So, just again, do the triangle flat first. Okay. Oh, it turns out my son had been upstairs, but he'd been doing stuff. So, yeah, he came down and apologised and said, oh, sorry, Mum. You know, I didn't realise that, you know, my sister had gone out. So, yeah. He obviously thought they were in her room, you know, with her watching them. He hadn't realised she'd gone to the park. So, you know, it's fine. But yeah, so he's now taken the other two. Bo's still here beside me, but the other two have gone up to his room. So that's much less chaotic, much less noise now going on. Honestly, otherwise you're just paranoid, thinking, oh my goodness, what are they doing? Where are they going to the toilet? What are they doing? Oh, it really is a problem. Trying to obviously get them on the whole toilet training thing. You know, involving lots of treats, obviously. And touch wood, it's going pretty well. It's going much better for Jess than it is for Slinky. He seems a little bit more stubborn. But Jess, she loves a treat. So does Slinky, don't get me wrong. But yeah, Jess, I think she's like, oh, if I do this, I get a treat. You know, whereas he's kind of like, oh, well, if I don't do that, it probably still will get a treat, you know. Because the other two are getting one. She's not going to be mean and not give me one. So, yeah. Right, there we go. I have had a couple of people lately say, oh, you know, why do you use so much glue? Now, the reason being is I am very, very paranoid about things not being stuck down properly. You know, I hate when, you know, I used to be a scrapbooker. And if I look through mini books more, because scrapbooking pages tend to be inside the albums, you know, but if I look through a mini album, I absolutely hate it if something's peeling up, you know, lifting off. No one wants that, do they? So I just kind of go with the, oh, much more glue than necessary, and hopefully that's going to mean that things are really stuck down really well. But yeah, I mean, I probably do overdo the glue, but, and obviously today I'm having glue issues, so my glue's like pouring out or not coming out, so hence the glue is more than ever. Right, okay, so I probably won't do the others until after the video now, because I'm pretty sure I've been filming for a long time. So let's decorate one of these up. So okay, so I've dug a couple of bits out, and then I just quickly lined the inside with the paper. And the reason why I like to do that really is just because if this gets a bit lumpy and bumpy, you know, if we put lace and bling and things like that on there, it's going to be a bit tricky to get it to lay flat to put these bits of paper down. So it's just sort of good practice if you can to, you know, line it first, if you like. So just going to ink this up a little bit, because although it's vintage paper, it's not very discoloured, so we'll just make it look a little bit more discoloured. Okay. There we go. And then on the outside, I'm just going to ink this up a little bit. So yeah, aren't these papers pretty together? The Avery and the damask. Look really nice, doesn't it? That's the Avery blue. You get it in different colours. That's the blue one. Oh, I just want to say a massive thank you to anyone who's purchased anything from my shop. So either on my website or my Etsy shop. In fact, I don't know whether I have done one of these mass makings since my big restock. So yeah, massive thank you to anybody who purchased anything during that. I really do appreciate it. So, and if you've received your items already, I hope that you're really pleased with them. You know, they lived up to your expectations. So yeah, thank you so, so much. Right, okay, so this is my vintage bird toppers, and this is from the, oh, not sure what that's from actually. I can't remember. I can't remember, I'm afraid, that rose. It could be from one of the Perfect Pocket sets. So, you know, maybe just something like that. I'll just do on here. On the back, and then something on the actual pocket part as well. Like that. Looks pretty, doesn't it? Okay. Right, and then, yeah, pop the lace going across there, I think. Okie dokie. Oops. Oh dear. Oh gosh, I'm really getting messy with the glue today. I don't know what's going on, but I'm obviously having one of those ridiculous days. Ridiculously clumsy days, my gosh. It's not good. Not good at all. I'm covered in glue. Absolutely covered in glue. Okay, and then, yeah, just snip that off there. There we go. And then, yeah, I'm going to put this rose on here. So it's sort of overlapping the pocket, but only very slightly. So, you know, it's not kind of like in the way or anything like that. So, yeah. Now I'm going to hot glue this down because it's going over the lace and the pocket, if you see what I mean. So just a bit of extra glue there. Like that. Okay. I mean, doesn't that look gorgeous? Really, really pretty, doesn't it? Now I have got some of my street names, I think, somewhere here still from those tags I made the other day. Perhaps we could have a book plate. I mean, it doesn't probably even need anything, but yeah, perhaps a little book plate on there as well. I've got some butterflies, but they're ginormous. It's going to be too big, I think. Oh yeah. Swamped by a butterfly. Absolutely swamped. Okay, put the book plate on. There we go. I mean, how gorgeous does that look? So you've got a pocket there. Oops. Pockets there. It's just a bit glued down from some excess glue there. So just get rid of that. That was the hot glue. I'd stuck that down. Right, there we go. We've got the pocket there, which actually I am going to just quickly glue that down on the edge. Just a little dab of glue. Okay. Like that. Now, personally, you know, I don't know whether I would decorate the back. I mean, I talked about this before. I tend to kind of always just think, oh, it's the back. I mean, in this particular case, maybe not so much, because obviously this is going to just be like tucked in, you know, paper clipped in or something. So it's fully both sides, if you see what I mean. But, you know, definitely, obviously, if I was going to glue this onto a page, then I would obviously decorate the, you know, both sides. So, you know, if I were putting that onto a page, which I probably won't because I've now covered the insides, but I would just glue it there and there, there and there, and hook it on like that, and then like that. But yeah, I mean, they're just lovely for, you know, just tucking into pockets and things like that, aren't they? Or just popping in with a paper clip. So you've got the pocket there, and you've got the pocket here, which again I've now managed to glue down. There we go, the pocket there as well. And then inside you've got the journaling space here on the paper. And obviously if you wanted to add extra pages inside, you could just kind of like stitch or staple in some extra pages. So they're quite a nice one, aren't they? And like I say, although they are a little bit time consuming, they're not sort of complicated or anything like that. They're just time consuming. So how many have we made? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Plus, I think we'd done a couple in the beginning, hadn't we? Or was that my couple that I had done? Oh, maybe that. Oh, no. Here we go. 6, 7. So we've done 7 completed, which is pretty good, I think. You know, being a bit of a time-consuming thing. And I've also cut out and put ready. Have I? Oh, no, I haven't. No, I haven't. That's all of them. I didn't get around to those papers. So we've done 7. Well, I think 7's pretty healthy, really, because they are, like I say, a bit on the time consuming side. But let me know what you think. Let me know if you make some, how many did you make? And yeah, I hope that you like them, have fun. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. And I will see you guys all in the next video. Really appreciate a big thumbs up for this video. And if you haven't subscribed, I would really appreciate your subscribing. Thanks so much then. Bye.